Penultimate relay of the season in the Biathlon World Cup. The action has already started. We're approaching the changeover for the first leg, and just a quick catch-up on the news from the first leg. The favourites, Germany, Russia, Norway, they're all out there, although it is a very reduced field. Only 10 teams entered into this women's 4x7.5. After the first shoot on the first leg, it was Bulgaria, Germany, Ukraine, the leading three teams. Germany, Ukraine, Bulgaria, the order after the second shoot, and only 15 seconds separating them. Well, there you get the standings after the second shoot. And you can see that the three leading teams are quite a long way clear. Russia back in fourth, 47 seconds behind. Japan have actually closed up on the Russians and skiing along nicely with them. Olga Pylova taking the Russians' first leg, the youngster. So they've got the inexperienced athlete out of the way, and she's done very well indeed. But she's let Diesel get ahead. And here is the German team coming into the finish of this first leg. And it's Uschi Diesel who's done her service yet again. Hasn't performed in the individual events quite so well this year, but every relay she's been absolutely solid as a rock on the first leg for Germany, and they haven't always come home in first. Germany second place in the World Cup standings in the relay events at the moment. Russia leading with 166 points, Germany in second with 158, and Ukraine in third with 140. That could all change today. Ukraine right on the heels of Germany. That was Elena Zabrilova taking the Ukrainians' first leg, so they've put their trump card first, and then it's up to Petrova, Lemish and Tereshchenko to try and contend with a very strong German team indeed. Diesel, Arpel, Henkel and Zellner making up the German quartet. Bulgaria, a good start, but don't be too surprised. They've produced one or two good results already this season. Been in the top three on one occasion. That was in Pokluka, the third relay of the season, but usually finishing 7th or 8th. So the Bulgarians also putting their stronger skiers first. One team that hasn't done so is the French, who've dropped right out of contention early on, but they put Sylvie Beckard first. They've got Balisalin, Bavrel going on the third leg, and Heyman Belay going on the fourth leg. So they get stronger as their team goes along. Norway, as always, a little bit of a disaster story in the relay. 1 and 5 on the right-hand side of the caption, indicating 5 missed targets in all and 1 penalty skied. And the bad news for the Norwegians is their best skier has already skied. Liv Greta Skjelbreid, 7th in yesterday's event. 2 gold medals in the World Championships in Oslo 2 weeks ago, but it hasn't worked for her today. Her sister, her older sister, taking over now, Anna-Len, and a little bit of work to do. She's 1:38 behind, and Anna-Len is going to have to hit all 10 targets if they want to close that gap. Ten teams in all entered for this event. The Russians, they've chosen the World Championship winning team, the gold medalists. Ishmaradova still not in that squad, but I guess it's fair enough. Ishmaradova down in 27th place yesterday, and the Russians not too sentimental about selection. They go for the last results, and I think if Ishmaradova had finished in the top 10 yesterday, she would have been in the quartet. But as it happens, she wasn't, and they're running the same team as they did in Oslo, the team that took gold, and they've put them in the same order as well. So not changing a winning team. The Germans, well, there's no Katja Beer, there's no Martina Glago, who were both in the top 15 yesterday. They've opted for the regulars in the German relay team, Diesel, Arpel, Henkel and Zellner. And Arpel a little lucky to get in. She was down in 52nd place in the individual race yesterday, missing 9 targets out of 20. And well, we'll see how she gets on today. This is Arpel in picture now, leading the way ahead of Petrova of Ukraine. And Arpel will be trying to block out the mishaps of yesterday. 9 missed out of 20. That really is one of the worst performances we've seen from her for 3 or 4 seasons. But the conditions weren't easy, have to grant her that. Particularly difficult wind here in Lahti. The stadium designed below the jumping hill, and it sets up a natural amphitheatre, and the wind coming in usually dropping down off the hill, and it does change frequently. catching some of the women out early on in their individual race and certainly causing havoc in the early part of the men's individual as well. First leg, no major surprises. We're getting used to the Germans and the Russians getting away well. The Ukrainians also, but the Russians dropping down a little, finishing fourth. The Norwegians and the French, as they seem to have made a habit of this year, losing ground on the very first leg. So Germany and Ukraine leading. Elena Petrova, very good run yesterday, 6th place in the individual, trailing Henkel of Germany at the moment, and the Bulgarians still looking reasonably comfortable in 3rd place. Irina Nikolchina, don't rule her out, she's a pretty handy athlete, finished in the top 10 on numerous occasions this year, not the most consistent. Take a result from the mass start in the World Championships, she finished 6th, hitting 18 out of 20. Came here yesterday for the women's individual, 47th, with 8 misses out of the 20 shots. So a little difficult to guess exactly how Nikolchina is going to perform, but the conditions still a bit breezy, but shouldn't be too bad. The first leg prone performance was certainly average, no major disasters. Russia and Norway missing 2 apiece, and those were the worst 2 performances. 4.3 separating the 2 leading teams. That's been cut by a second since the handover. Uschi Diesel coming in for Germany in first place, with Elena Zabrilova, the star of yesterday's individual. Extraordinary return to form for Zabrilova. 16.1 now between Bulgaria. Nikolchina has closed the gap by 3 or 4 seconds on the leaders, Germany, and that's a good, steady progress. It's a very tough course around this Lahti Stadium. That's very much in contrast to the cross-country events, regarded as one of the easier courses on the tour. And as I explained yesterday, it's because once you're out of the stadium, it's relatively flat. You're up on the top of the plateau, and the skiing very pleasant indeed. But the biathlon, because they have to keep coming back to the stadium to shoot, they basically spend their time climbing up and down the hill that is used for the ski jumping. And anyone who's been to a ski jumping event knows exactly how steep they are. And many of the athletes not too happy. It's late in the season. Only one more meeting to go after this in Khanty-Mansiysk in Russia. And no doubt they'll be looking forward to the end of the season. 21 individual races already completed this year, and 6 relays in all. This is the 7th. So for those who've competed in all the races, that's 28 races since the 1st of December. And by any sport, that is a very, very demanding schedule indeed. Some have survived all the way through, relatively unscathed. Magdalena Forsberg for one, but you have to bear in mind that Forsberg seldom races in the relay. When the Swedes do enter, she tends to take the final leg, and often by that stage the Swedish team have been lapped by the leading Germans or Russians and are hence withdrawn from the competition. And that's rule applying here today. So the 2.5 kilometre loop, if you find yourself losing that amount of distance to the leading teams, you're automatically taken out of the contest. And if you were with us in Oslo, you would have seen the top teams overtaking 8 in all in the men's relay, which was eventually stopped on the very final shoot because of the fog that rolled into the range. But another chance for those teams to perform tomorrow. The men's relay here in Lahti, not only a World Cup, it's also going to count as the World Championship relay. So plenty of crowds expected to turn up. That looked like 7 or 8 clicks that Arpel was changing. anti-clockwise. So that's, she's turning it to the right, and so far it seems very effective. Has Petrova of Ukraine done the same, taking her time to get the first round away? Oh, just losing concentration at the end for Arpel, but she's got 3 spare rounds with which to clear this final target. Shouldn't have any problem there. There it goes, 6 shots needed for the German, and at last Petrova of Ukraine is underway. Plenty of time in preparation. Well, what good technique that was. Good tactics from Petrova. She keeps herself in the race. She's lost a fraction to the Germans. Arpel getting out, and it's going to be a 10 to 12 second gap between them. As Bulgaria struggling now, Nikolchina, 3 targets still left. 3 spare rounds with which to hit them. So Germany getting away in first place. Ukraine will hold on to second. There is a chance that Russia will move into third place if Shanusova can shoot clear. But the first target has been missed. Shanusova, great performer in the relay. She's been so solid all season. Not looking too hurried at all. But that gap is growing between Germany and the teams in third and fourth place. Bulgaria, still 1 target left. Could be a penalty loop for them. Russia, 1 target, 2 shots to hit them, and Japan could take third place. Well, there's a surprise. The Japanese seldom finishing above 7th, but with the likes of Shindo and Tanaka going the first 2, they've put their best skiers first, so they may well drop out of contention. But it's Shuga who takes the third leg, and then Takahashi who brings up the final one. They all have produced good results at some stage of the season, and if the Japanese can all perform on the same day, who knows, maybe they could be the surprise podium finishers today. Only 6 nations have been on the podium in the relay events. The Russians, 6 out of 6 occasions, Germany 5 out of 6, the Ukrainians 4 out of the total number of races, with Norway, France and Bulgaria sharing 1 apiece. And Norway are going to be struggling. Bulgaria losing 2 places on this first shoot in the second leg, and now 127 behind. You can see just how damaging one poor performance is in the range. France still a long, long way down. And the Finns go clear and get a little bit of vocal support from the local crowd. Clapping seems to be the way to show your appreciation round here. But fairly sparse crowds for these first 2 days. We're expecting things to liven up tomorrow with the men's relay, which, as I've mentioned, is going to be a World Championship event as well. Sandrine Bali for France taking their second leg as Arpel heads out and up the hill, and really this shot does no justice to the steepness of this hill. It is very severe indeed as Petrova goes through the 5.6 kilometer stage. So the second leg now, the first shoot completed, the second shoot coming up in just a moment. That will be after this quick commercial break, so stay with us for that. Back in Lahti, and the Germans still leading. It's not a convincing lead as yet. The Ukrainians chasing hard. We've got Japan in third place with Russia, but I think Shanusova will find her way ahead of Tamami Tanaka. Slightly faster skier, but Tanaka very consistent with her rifle, and that consistency getting her a 4th place in the World Championships in the individual event. Just missing out on a medal. Magdalena Forsberg coming in to take the bronze on that occasion. And had Tanaka hit 20 out of 20 as opposed to 19, then the Japanese and Chinese could well have been on the podium in the same event. And Xu Yu making history for China, getting the silver medal. But it would have been a great occasion. Not that it wasn't, of course, with a good victory by Corinne Niegre of France in the women's 15. She didn't go so well yesterday. Niegre right out of contention. Surprising to see her. She looked very tired, in fact, and many of the athletes complaining. Now, there's a technique you don't see too often, and that gives you some real impression of how steep it is. Switching to the old penguin step is Elena Petrova as she works her way out of the stadium again. It's like a staircase here in Lahti. It's so severe, and with tired limbs already, you can hear the breathing just about going into oxygen debt, and maybe this is a good technique to use from Petrova. She'll be saving something for the final leg. Normally the tempo a little higher when you switch to that alternate technique. And Petrova certainly looking tired. I thought she might explode off the top of the hill, but not the case today. Shanusova has gone past the Japanese, as has Nikholchina. So Russia leading this chasing group. They're all fighting it out for 3rd position at the moment. And as long as the gap's not more than 1.5 minutes, but it's going to be around a minute between Germany and Russia, with just 27 seconds between Ukraine and Russia. So the 3 most successful teams so far this season are the 3 leading teams in Lahti. 1:15, the caption, the clock being stopped just a fraction early. Maybe someone walked through the timer, but there's the correction. 1:15 between Ukraine and Russia, and Shanusova is going to have to clear all 5 targets at the first attempt if she's going to have any chance of coming in 2nd position. Katrine Arpel, so far, justifying her inclusion in the German squad. Do feel a little bit sorry for the likes of Katja Beer and Martina Glago. Great runs yesterday, 9th and 15th respectively, and still they're left out of the German team. Well, maybe they'll be sad about that, but it will give them an extra day's rest before the pursuit race, which takes place on Sunday, in fact. Both the men and the women's events on Sunday, and the pursuit start being based on the results of yesterday's individuals. So it's going to be the Ukrainian Zabrilova who starts that, and she'll have around a 37-38 second lead over Andrea Henkel of Germany, and Henkel is going to be taking the next leg for Germany. So both the first 2 in the pursuit have raced today. But Katja Beer, who's got a point to prove, she was left out of the World Championship selection. And certainly the spirit in the German team wasn't what it usually is at the World Championships, and they left with no gold medals in the women's events. Got a silver in the relay. Got plenty of silvers and bronzes, but no gold. But it could be gold today in this World Cup. They lead the way. 30 seconds ahead of the Ukrainians. The wind's starting to cause problems for Henkel, and there's the first shot missed. Not just missed, she was around 5 inches out to the right. So there you see it, low by 1.5 inches. Slightly left, no consistency, and high right with the 3rd one. So Henkel of Germany, Henkel, it's Arpel. Henkel's on the next leg. This is Katrine Arpel, who's missed 3 of the 5, and conditions not easy. Petrova has missed the first one. Oh, good finish from Petrova. So, even Stevens between Germany and the Ukraine, and it's Apel who's got a penalty loop to do, so the lead could change again. Petrova's just got 3 rounds to clear this one target, and it's down. Great shooting. Very patient indeed. Petrova, who's looking very tired on the skis, she may possibly have been playing it tactically. Shanusova, first missed target for her. Oh, what a shame. First 3 were absolutely sweet. Japan now with a chance to go into the top 3. Tamami Tanaka missing her first one. So the lead has changed, and it's Ukraine who get out in front. There's not going to be a massive margin because Germany, with just 1 penalty loop to ski, it's quite a long one, not as big as the one we saw in Oslo, likely to cost around 25 and a half seconds. And there is the margin, 11.2 seconds between Ukraine and Germany. And the fight's still on for third. Russia, Japan, Bulgaria. And it looks as though it's the Bulgarians. No, it's Shanusova who's got it, just 34.5. So they were 1 minute 15 behind, and Shanusova has made up a lot of ground. Japan in 4th now, and Bulgaria in 5th. So still not a lot between the 3rd, 4th and 5th positions, just 8 seconds separating them, and that could all change over the next 2 legs. So 4 shoots completed, still 4 to go, and Norway lonely at the back of the leading field. They're on their own, no real pressure, as Anna-Len Kjellbride settles for her first standing shoot. Model of concentration, but only 60% hit. Around 12 to 15 seconds lost from Anna-Len Kjellbride by loading the weapon, and Norway are going to find themselves over 2 minutes behind, I think, by the time she breaks the timing wand. And it is going to be a big margin between Norway and Ukraine, who are the new leaders. Germany in second, 11.2 behind. And the first 5 teams all within 3/4 of a minute of the leading team. So it's going to be a tight one. We've seen plenty of good relay races this season. Absolute nail-biter in the World Championships, with Russia and Germany again, the 2 teams fighting it out. But the Russians are down in 3rd place at the moment, 34.5 seconds off the lead of Ukraine. Very mixed season for Scandinavia this year. After Christmas it went mild for a period of around 3 weeks, and Lahti, Oslo, Stockholm, all without snow. And in fact, Oslo without snow just 5 days ago, but it's arrived, and just in time for the World Cups due to take place there over the next few days. Back in Lahti, out on the trails, as the second leg of the women's 4x7.5 relay comes to an end. Another 3 or 4 minutes for these skiers before they hand over to those taking the third leg, which is often the one that determines the result of the relay. The pressure just starting to build, and Germany and Ukraine will certainly be looking to open up a gap of over a minute on that third leg, because that should see them comfortably secured of a 1st or 2nd place on the final leg. Well, Germany, a very strong squad indeed. Henkel and Zellner taking the final 2 legs. Henkel on a flying form yesterday, coming in 2nd place, just behind Elena Zabrilova. And Martina Zellner, always strong. She wasn't quite so good yesterday, but she's always fast. And if she can just control her nerves, then she'll be difficult to beat on the final leg. The Ukrainians, well, they've got Nina Lemish taking the third leg, who was up in the top 20 yesterday, but not firing on all cylinders. And then Tereshchenko, who is certainly the weakest of the Ukrainian quartet, taking the final leg. And that could be the Achilles heel for the Ukrainian team. So Lemish and Petrova. Petrova's still out on the snow. She's got to stay with Germany and then hope that Nina Lemish can shoot clear and open up a gap, because I think Tereshchenko will have very little chance of staying with the likes of Martina Zellner. Russia aren't out of it yet. They've worked their way back up into third place after a very poor start. Missed 2 targets on the first shoot. I wonder if they were a little upset by the full start at the beginning of this relay, which unfortunately we missed down in Sestriere with the Women's Alpine World Cup. It's slightly bizarre that over a 30-kilometre race they call someone back for starting a couple of hundredths of a second early, but it was done. Much applause and laughter in the crowd, and some wide, bright smiles on the faces of the athletes as they saw the funny side of the affair. But that was a long time ago now, and all forgotten by these athletes out on the course. Shanusova, 30 seconds. She's closed the gap a little. 4.5 seconds, clawed back on the Ukrainian team that were leading. Germany have gone ahead of Ukraine, and it's going to be Katrine Arpel who brings them in first place, but Elena Petrova is hanging on very well indeed. She's certainly the slower of the two skiers, but digging deep. The technique disappeared long ago, but it's really all blood and guts from now on in for the Ukrainian. Her teammates back out on the course. Elena Zabrilova out there to cheer her on. She's heard and seen exactly what's happened in the range and knows that the support isn't needed on the shooting arena. It's needed right at the top of the hill where the going is the toughest. So, Henkel taking leg number 3 for Germany. Looks relaxed enough. Her coach, Uwe Misugang, is looking happy with the situation at the moment. Maybe he's confident that Martina Zellner can do the business over the 4th and final leg. Back down towards the stadium for the final time. The normal route turns right and up the hill and round the back of the hill. That's where the cross-country events usually go, but it's a direct descent for the biathletes down into the stadium, just on a parallel line to the course that brings them up out of the arena. Certainly the German coach looking the more relaxed of the two. And it's Henkel who's getting ready for the third leg. As I say, a great race yesterday from Andrea Henkel. 2nd place, shooting 20 out of 20. And let's see what the time gaps were. Ukraine were 11 seconds ahead at the last shoot, but we know that has changed. Germany it is who's going to have a slim lead, around 3 or 4 seconds over Ukraine as they head out. So Germany go first. 4.4 seconds between them and the Ukraine. Russia were in 3rd place, and I think they'll have held on to that. Shanusova has skied well and just opened up a bit of a gap over the Bulgarians and the Japanese. Well, I'm mistaken. Remarkable comeback from Nikolchina, who's gone into 3rd place, but Russia still there. Shanusova working very hard as she came out, maybe just tiring over the final few hundred meters and losing 6 seconds to the Bulgarian team. But at this stage of the race, still 15 kilometers to go. It's not too significant a distance. Japan, though, just losing touch and just over 20 seconds behind the Russians. So still 5 teams within a minute of each other at the front of the field. Norway were over 2 minutes behind when we last saw them coming out of the range, and that may be just too much. They've got to close it to less than a minute for the final leg if they want any chance of the win, and really they've got to be under a minute if they want any chance of getting on the podium as well. And the Norwegians started the season so well. They won both the men and the women's relay in Hogfilsen, the opening event of the season down in Austria. Beautiful conditions down there. And we thought maybe it was going to be Norway's year for the relays, but it hasn't turned out that way. The men, they have another chance of winning the World Championship crown tomorrow, but Germany have to start as favourites, and you have to have a little bit of sympathy for them, because they were the team that was leading in Oslo when the event was called off due to the fog, and they had a 45-second lead when the reduced visibility turned that final shoot into a complete farce. This is the leading two. Have a look at the difference in techniques. Look at the knees of Andrea Henkel out in the front, and Nina Lemisch for Ukraine. Spoken about it a few times this season, the tendency for the knees to go inwards, a sort of knock knee syndrome. Lemisch looking very, very strong. She's had knee problems this season, as you can see, heavily bandaged up. Norway coming in 2 minutes and 10. They were behind after they came out of the range, and Anna-Lene Skjelbreid has lost more time, 3:05, and there you see the damage. 8 targets missed out of the first 20, and in relay events in the World Cup you can seldom afford to miss more than 6 if you want to win the event. The French, a similar sort of story. 1 penalty loop for them, 7 targets missed out of 20, and both Norway and France have the potential to win these events, but it's been a series of disasters all the way through the season, and it's a bit of a shame for France, because they have a strong squad, in fact, although today they've given Corinne Niagre a rest, and Florence Bavrel also resting. Bavrel disqualified yesterday, and if you were with us, you'll remember that slightly extraordinary circumstances. Came in for her first shoot. It was her first standing shoot, and fired off the first 5 rounds, missed 1, and then reloaded with a spare round of ammunition that she was carrying on the stop. That's permitted, no problem with that, just in case you lose a round in the snow. But couldn't quite understand why she went to take the 6th shot. She cleared the 5th target, but got herself disqualification in the process, because of course in the individual events you're only allowed 5 shots to hit the 5 targets. In the relay it is slightly different, 3 spare rounds of ammunition used. Germany and Ukraine 4 seconds apart at the second handover. Now they're about 4 inches apart. Lemisch just pacing Henkel, and Lemisch certainly looks the more comfortable of the two. Really, it might be a good idea to go ahead of Henkel and try and get Henkel to ski faster than she would otherwise have liked. And Russia are closing up as a result of that, and it's Galina Kuklova who did great things, played the major role for the Russian team in the World Championships. Kuklova certainly the woman that got player of the day, and she seems to be doing it again, closing the gap on Ukraine and Germany. Snow been falling for around 16 hours now in Lahti. So all the summer sports fans will not be enjoying it too much, but the skiers and jumpers, and there are plenty of them in these parts, will be looking forward to a somewhat extended season. And with Easter very late indeed, maybe it will see them all the way through to that holiday period. 12 seconds now, Russia behind. They've gained 16 over the first 1.8 kilometers, so Kuklova is certainly on course to catch up with the two leading teams. Bulgaria 27, they've lost a further 5. And the Japanese are going to be over 45. They were 49 at the last count, but not going too badly. Close 3 seconds on the leaders. So Henkel is playing a slightly canny game. She's certainly got the ability to ski faster than this. She's skiing well within herself, and maybe she's going to rely on her shooting, because it was immaculate yesterday. 20 out of 20. One of only 2 women to do so, and both those finishing on the podium. In first place, it was Elena Zabrilova. In second, Andrea Henkel. Kuklova started well, but maybe she started too quickly, starting to suffer with the steepness of these severe hills in Lahti. Just to give you some idea of what they have to endure, the men's 20-kilometer yesterday, obviously covering 20,000 meters, was skied in 57 minutes by the fastest man, if you take away the penalties. That was Frode Andresen, the man who caused so much controversy in the World Championships. 57 minutes, that includes 4 shoots, which cost you over 1.5 minutes on each occasion. So if you take another 7 minutes or so off that time, around 50 minutes, which gives you a speed of just under 23 kilometers an hour. Now that's certainly a good running pace. But when you consider that this course involves a climb of 800 meters over those 20 kilometers, so that's the height of, let's say, anyone who knows the Stirlingshire region in Scotland, Ben Leddy, for example, just over 800 meters. In Wales, I suppose just a little bit lower than Cadair Idris, just inland from Towyn. That's the sort of climb that they're going through, and still achieving speeds of over 22, 23 kilometers an hour. Staggering stuff. And certainly a good 2 or 3 kilometers an hour quicker than 3 or 4 seasons ago. And it's not just the equipment that's making the difference. Changes in training, certainly more quality training nowadays, trying to boost the lactate thresholds, as opposed to concentrating on the long, slow distance that used to be the name of the game earlier on. The Ukrainian shooting coach glued in on Nina Lemish's target. Lemish down with the yellow trousers. It's Galina Kuklova who's caught up the leading 2, wearing number 4 in the middle. And nearest us, Andrea Henkel. 2 apiece for Germany and Russia, and it's Kuklova who's going best. She hasn't missed yet, and 1 target to go. Kuklova could go from 3rd to 1st. She's going to do that. Well, what a start for the Russians, and are they going to win yet again? Because if they do, it would almost certainly secure them the overall World Cup win in the relays. They're 6 points clear of Germany at the moment, and if they were to win this one, they'd move to 10 points clear, and then all they'd have to do would be to finish in the leading 3 in the final World Cup of the season. So Russia going out first after the first shoot in the 3rd leg. The margin is going to be around 15, 16 seconds between themselves and Germany, or is it the Ukraine in 2nd place? Germany and Ukraine must be out by now. There they go, Ukraine 16.4 seconds down. Germany must be just behind them, another 3 or 4 seconds adrift. 22 the difference between Russia and Germany, and for the first time in this race, Germany find themselves without the lead. Japan and Bulgaria now fighting it out for 4th and 5th. A richly deserved applause for the Japanese. They've done this on so many occasions. They've got 3 really top performers now, with the likes of Shindo, Tanaka and Suga. But I just wonder whether Takahashi can stay with the pace over the final leg. It'd be great to see them finish in the top 4. Takahashi, certainly capable of getting World Cup points. She's only done so once this year, but she may well come through. Good shooting from the Japanese, only 4 missed targets out of the first 25. And they've still got 5th place, 1 minute 12 behind, but more significantly, they're at 14 seconds down on the Bulgarians if they want a top 4 finish, and considerably further behind the Germans, who are in 3rd place, around 50 seconds in front of the Japanese. Finland and France fighting it out for 6 and 7, and the Norwegians will should be somewhere around. The Norwegians were 3 minutes adrift when we last saw them, and it's their youngster who's taking the 3rd leg for them, Linda Torholm, who hit the World Cup scene in Östersund when the tour went to the central part of Sweden just before the World Championships. Came down to the World Championships and got a 14th place in the individual, shooting clear. For France, Florence Bavrel, disqualified yesterday, as we mentioned, for taking 6 shots rather than the permitted 5. Uproar in the team captains meeting last night, as no one had noticed it during the race, but the result sheets changed. Bavrel disqualified. Livgreta Shelbrad, in fact, moved up a number of places, as she had 2 minutes knocked off her time. Her rounds deemed to have hit the target, but the mechanism failing. One more for Bavrel, and that's gone down. Finland, though, still with a chance of beating the French. 1 target to go. The Norwegians, another sorry story. Torholm, who's usually so accurate, has missed 3. Well, she's known for her marksmanship, but it's not been a happy couple of days here in Lahti so far. 1 target left, 2 and 1 round to go. She's missed 3 already, and it goes down. So a sigh of relief from the Norwegian supporters, but it's another 3 rounds missed. That's 45 seconds or so added to her time, because it takes that long to reload the single round of ammunition and then reset the position. And Torholm will be hoping for better in the standing shoot. The standing shoot coming up very shortly. We're going to take another quick commercial break. We'll be back to see whether Galina Kuklova of Russia can hold on to the lead. Back in Lahti, and this is the difference between the leading 3 teams. Russia leading, Nina Lemish of Ukraine in 2nd, now ahead of Henkel, who's starting to look tired. Maybe she overexerted herself yesterday, but it did get her a 2nd place and 80 points, 26 points in the World Cup, because the biathlon scoring system is slightly different to that of the cross-country and the alpine events, where you get 100 for a win. It's only 30 for a win in the biathlon, and 30 for the winning relay team as well. And the situation in the World Cup: Russia, Germany, Ukraine, the 3 leading teams, 166 versus 158, so 8 points between Russia and Germany. And should Russia win again today, they will extend that to at least 12, maybe even more, should Ukraine finish in the 2nd position that they hold at the moment. Russia pulling away from Ukraine at the moment. Ukraine slightly stretching the Germans. Japan have moved up into 4th. The Bulgarians starting to tire, having held 4th when they came out of the range, 58 seconds down. 1:11, the Japanese closing again, so Sugar has found some form. Now, if Sugar can shoot clear, maybe we're going to have a battle on for the 3rd place. And the Japanese have yet to achieve that. 2 notable teams missing today. The Slovakians that have been 4th on just about every occasion this year. They've not put a squad in for today's relay. And then the Chinese team. Unlikely to have a reduced field for the men's event, because of its World Championship status. But the forecast for tomorrow is more snow and a lot more wind, so it's going to be another tricky situation. And well, it's the same for everyone, you could say, but it does turn it into a little bit of a lottery as the wind conditions change so often. And if you have a look at the flagpoles or the flags flying, you can see that they're going in every which direction. And that is exactly the same situation in the range, and it takes a very observant biathlete to observe it and adjust correctly for it. Great shooting from the Ukrainians, just one missed target on each of the shoots so far, so 3 out of the 25 shots that have been taken. And the Russians not quite as good, but it's good enough so far, and Kuklova clear on her first prone. Olympic sprint champion Kuklova showing us why. Oh, 5 out of 5. You can't beat that, and you can't ask for more than that. Kuklova has proved to be the relay skier of the year. 10 out of 10 in Oslo. She's got 10 out of 10 again today in Lahti, and that may just be the move that gives the Russians yet another victory. Well, they got third in the opening event of the year. They won the next 2, and then they came back after 2 defeats from Germany to win the World Championships. And they may just rub it in and get their 4th victory of the season. But Germany aren't going to give it up easily. And Henkel has gone clear, 5 out of 5. The pressure now on the Ukrainians, who've missed 1. Time difference at the last check, 30 seconds between Russia and Ukraine. We know the Ukrainians have lost ground. It was around 35 seconds between Russia and Germany, so watch the clock. Russia still leading with Galina Kuklova. Germany are certainly in second place. It's over 29 seconds, 30 seconds the gap. That's worth at least 2 shots, and 33.5. Henkel gaining a little bit of ground on the shooting, but she's likely to lose a bit more to Kuklova on the skiing, unless, of course, Kuklova's gone off too fast. And she certainly didn't look too fresh last time she reached the top of the hill behind these ski jumps.
Russia is first, Germany second, 33 seconds behind.
Hiromi Shuga gets the 5th target down and keeps the Japanese with a hope of taking 3rd place. The Ukrainians have lost a lot of ground, 35 seconds in all to the Russian team, and they've lost a huge amount to the Germans as well. So Ukraine, after a great start, and their bad news is that they've got their weaker skier going last, so their tactics haven't really paid off. I think the Ukrainians were hoping to build a lead with Elena Zabrilova on the first leg, but it may have been wiser to put it the other way round. But the reason they did that was because Uschi Diesel always goes first for Germany, and if you want to stay with the leading group and put them under pressure, you've got to put a good skier first. And so the Ukrainians going for Elena Zabrilova. The Russians, they relied on Olga Pylova, the youngster who did it so well in Oslo. She lost a bit of ground today, but Pylova keeping Russia in the top 4 and within 30 seconds of the leading teams. And that margin of 30 seconds seems to be the critical distance. If you're less than that, you do tend to have visual contact with the skier in front, and that's often enough to give you the mental boost that you need to keep driving. So Kuklova heading back to the stadium, and there's no chance that she will be overtaken, but we'll wait and see what the lead is when she comes into handover to the final leg. It's in the range, and already 3 minutes 45 behind, but it's going well for their 3rd skier. And Florence Bavrel has cleared all her standing. Oh no, she's missed one, and she's got one more to go. The Finns have gone clear. A good shoot from them to keep them in with a shout of a top 5, possibly, should the Bulgarians fail to perform on their 4th and final leg. But the margin between France, Finland, Norway and Bulgaria is going to be around 2.5 minutes. And that really means that Bulgaria have got to make mistakes. The other teams, even if they shoot clear, they're not going to make up that sort of margin. Linda Torholm for Norway. Well, that little expletive doesn't need too much translating. She's not happy. It's not been working for her over the last couple of days.
Finland 4.26 kärjestä pro 26 behind.
A little bit like a golf shot, so easy second time round, but Torholm knows that that's cost her another 20 seconds and a little chance of the Norwegians regaining respectability, let alone a top 4 place here in the World Cup relay race. So the Norwegian men will be hoping for better things tomorrow. They'll be in action starting at the same time, 1300 CET, or if you're watching on British Eurosport, it's going to be midday in the UK. So hope you'll tune in for that one. It is a big one, of course, the World Championship event as well as a World Cup. Then on Sunday, the pursuit races, and then the tour heading east into Russia for the final event of the season, the final World Cups. 3 races scheduled there for both the men and the women. And it's going to be a long journey. They're flying out on Sunday night, most of the teams, leaving Lahti at around 10 o'clock, and the flight's leaving at 10, 11 and 12, flying over to Moscow initially, and then it's another 4.5-hour flight northeast from there to Khanty-Mansisk, and they're going to be arriving at some ungodly hour of the morning in the middle of Siberia. And to give you some idea of how far east it is, if you draw a line directly north from Pakistan, you'll find that Khanty-Mansisk is on exactly the same longitude. But considerably further north, where no doubt Aurora Borealis will be doing its bit. Due for a good showtime this spring, apparently, with lots of activity on the sun. So if you're going skiing, head north for the Easter period. You should get some spectacular displays. Certainly in the north of Sweden and Finland, around the likes of Kiruna. Kiruna, in fact, hosting the Nordic Skiing World Masters Championships this year. I'm not sure whether that's already taken place. I'll check the old FIS calendar and let you know. Maybe too late for entries, but if you're one of the Brits taking part in that, good luck to you, and look forward to hearing how you get on. So the end of the 3rd leg coming up now with Galina Kuklova for Russia, who's been a real star. She was in 4th place when she handed over. The difference between herself and the leading Ukrainian team, over 40 seconds, and she's really worked wonders, shooting 10 out of 10 yet again, and down she comes into the stadium as the German team still looking very happy. That was Martina Zellner, in fact, sharing a joke with her coach. And I wonder whether that's been a focus of the German team, because their spirit's very low indeed throughout the World Championships, and the performances coming through to match. They still won medals, but they're used to gold, and they didn't go home with any. The Russians, on the other hand, have had considerable success, the winning team in the relay, and they're leading here in Lahti with just 7.5 kilometers still to run. For Russia, it's Albina Akhятova. took the final leg in the World Championship. She's obviously got the head for it, and away she goes, and she's going to have 250 meters advantage over the German team. Martina Zellner waiting to go for them. Now, Zellner's ranked in the top 10 of the World Cup, so she's a class act by anyone's standards. She won herself the pursuit in Ruhpolding just after the Christmas break. Didn't take any other wins this year, but she did get a medal in the sprint event in the World Championships, so a little bit of success for her this year, and she's very, very quick indeed. I think we'll find that she's a little bit quicker than Albina Jatova, provided she's got the wax right today. Had a chat with Mark G, one of the British skiers, who was explaining the waxing. Not too difficult. Conditions -5. The humidity is pretty low, so it's just a basic waxing. Put the hydrofluoro waxes on, HF7, and then a little bit of Cera F over the top. The powder that you sprinkle on the ski and then just iron it in. And it's really the structure of the ski that's so important. That's the condition of the P-Tex underneath. And most of the teams getting their skis stone ground on their arrival in Scandinavia. There's a magician who works wonders with the skis up here, and they're finding if they've got the right structure in these conditions, the ski's going well. The wax not quite so important, and certainly not causing the problems that we saw in other World Cups of the season, say in Pokluka, for example. If the base of your skis are looking just a little bit tatty, and you're coming up for some of the Loppet races on the cross-country tour, then well worth the 25 to 30 pound investment to get them stone ground, and they come back looking like new and going considerably faster than they would have done before. Certainly enough to give you a 4 or 5% improvement on your time, which in a race such as the Vasaloppet can certainly save you half an hour, 45 minutes, and a lot of effort. This is Albina Jatova leading her way out into the Lahti forests for the first of 3 times, and then a couple of little ups and downs before she heads back down towards the shooting range. And that gap of 35 seconds or so ahead of the Germans should be enough to see her hold on to the lead, unless of course she ends up skiing penalty loops, which will cost her 26 seconds a go. So provided she hits all 5 targets, Russia should come out in first. But if Zellner clears all 5 very quickly, then we're going to be in for one of the classic finishes in the women's 4x7.5. Ukraine going through in 3rd place, and that's the slim distance between Ukraine and Japan. So still there is a chance that the Japanese will finish on the podium. Takahashi taking the last leg for the Japanese up against Terashenko of Ukraine, and both teams putting their weakest skier last. So that's going to be a battle of wits between those two, and Takahashi be absolutely delighted to be able to see, to be so close to the Ukrainian team. What she's got to be careful is that she doesn't ski above herself and come into the range for the prone shoot with the pulse rate up around 190, maybe 195, in some cases even over 200 beats per minute. Because if she does that, she's going to find she takes an extra 14, 15 seconds to settle for the prone. And if she doesn't take that time, then the chances are she'll miss targets, and that will cost her 15 seconds a go. So, as well as working hard, she's got to be thinking hard as well. Akhятова, on the other hand, has the luxury of a little bit of free ground. There's no one behind her as far as she knows. And here she is, just overtaking, just trying to recognize the suit. It's not the Finns, it might well be the Czech Republic. We'll just check the number as they come through, but that team has been lapped and will be taken out of action. So no fourth leg skier going for them. Can't believe it's the Belarusians. They were far enough ahead to be comfortable. Martina Zellner now losing just a little bit of ground to Albina Akhятova in the early stages. 47, 48 seconds. It's going to be more. 51 now. That is a very significant distance indeed. If we say 15 seconds for each spare round of ammunition, Akhятova can certainly afford 3, and she'll still come out with a lead of around 5 or 6 seconds. And if Akhятova misses 3, the chances are the conditions will be bad with the wind, which seems to have picked up. But that's what's forecast for today and for tomorrow. Then the chances are that Zellner will miss 1 or 2. The only thing working in the Germans' favour at the moment is the fact that the leading team, for some reason, suffers the most pressure. And it's nearly always that final skier who suffers worst, and it certainly induces more mistakes than we would otherwise see. Ukraine and Japan, 151 behind and 152 respectively. Nothing between them, and the Japanese now on the verge of history. They've never finished in the top 3 in a relay in the Women's World Cup, and it could be about to happen. Ukraine relying on the likes of Terashenko, the Japanese with Takahashi. Two separate battles going on in this women's 4x7.5. 51 seconds separating Russia and Germany. 2 shoots remaining. And then the Ukrainians and Japanese fighting it out for that 3rd position. They're over a minute behind Germany, but just 1 second separating those 2 teams. Well, Akhятova is 50 seconds clear, so if things go well, she should be in and out of the range for the first shoot. Lives up in Shumen in Siberia, not so far from Khanty-Mansiysk actually, where the next World Cups are taking place, so she'll enjoy that one. Right on the Siberian railway. Ooh, high left with that 3rd shot. Now have a look at that caption of the target. You can see where it's going. The second one missed has gone high left as well at around 10 o'clock. And that's at 9:30, so all 3 rounds missing in the same place. That would indicate that the sights are not perfect for the conditions at the moment. So 3 spare rounds, 3 targets to hit, and things tidying up. It's 1 penalty loop for Russia. Germany with a chance of going in the lead again. Zellner will have sensed it. And that first one sounded very sweet indeed. The higher the pitch of the chink, usually the more accurate the shot. 3 out of 3 for Germany. First miss. And the second. Zellner, the sights should be okay. She changes them though, and Russia are out, but they've got a penalty loop to ski. Germany, if they can hit this final one, will almost certainly take the lead, and that gap of 11 seconds that they lost at this stage in the third leg, they could be about to regain. And Zellner's gone clear. Well, she's held her nerve so well. She had one spare round still to go, and out she goes. Watch the time clock. 51 seconds was the difference, and that has been lost in one shoot. Akhjatova out on the penalty loop, and here comes Martina Zellner. They're going to be very, very close indeed. Around 5 or 6 seconds are going to separate Germany and Russia. Zellner on the left of the screen, Akhjatova coming off the penalty loop on the right. And it's Germany with the lead. It's the gap that's so important. Well, as always, the pressure immense on the leader, but now it's Germany who have to cope with that. 4.9 seconds between the two of them, and the second of the battles going on. Ukraine 2 down, Japan with a missed target. Takahashi adjusting the sights anti-clockwise, trying to move the sights to the right, which having seen Akhjatova's shooting would indicate that that's the right move, but that is just what Ukraine ordered. 5 with 5 from Terashenko, and that could be the end of the Japanese hopes of a podium finish. Penalty loop certainly. Oh, what a shame. Would have been just the way to round up the season for the Japanese squad. He looks more nervous than Takahashi herself. That's good. All 3 rounds being put to good use, and in the end 4 targets going down, but no real excuse for the first 3 misses, and Takahashi may be just suffering from the fact that she's in a situation that she's never found herself in before, and that is part of the game in biathlon. It's no good being able to hit the targets in training. You've got to do it when the pressure is at its most, and the final leg of the relay is, I think most people will agree, that exact situation. Bulgaria with a chance now of catching the Japanese, should they shoot 5 clear. The early leaders of this race, and it's Shrodriva who's now on course, and 3 rounds down, 2 targets hit. So 2:13 the distance, and 1 minute and 10 between Ukraine and Japan. That was just 1 second when we last saw them, and the similar sort of change with the Germans and the Russians. Russia were leading by 51 seconds. Now they trail by 4.9, and just 1 shoot to go. Quicker of the skiers, Martina Zellner usually, but Akhjatova looked very, very fresh and pulled away from Zellner on the opening leg, but that may well be Akhjatova driving too hard. 4.9 seconds, that's been reduced as Zellner comes through, and they're going to settle side by side when they come in for their final shoot. That is going to be coming up shortly after this commercial break. So stay with us for the climax of this women's 4x7.5 relay. The winners of this 7th relay of the season. At the moment it's Germany leading, but the lead over the Ukrainians, the Russians, is very slim indeed. Ukraine in 3rd position, a minute behind. It's a long shot. They've got to hope that the pressure gets to Germany and Russia, but it has happened this season on many, many occasions. Take the women's mass start, for example, in the World Championships in Oslo just 12 days ago. The woman in 6th position on the final shoot of 4 came through to win it. That was Liv Greta Shelbride, taking her 2nd gold of the championships and winning that gold on the same day that her fiancé Raphael Poiré won the men's event. Little to separate Zellner and Akhjatova with their skiing talent. Zellner very strong indeed, and an enormous amount of work on her upper body strength early season, training down close to Ramsau. 13 seconds Russia losing a little bit of ground, so our predictions were semi-correct in that Akhятова working a little too hard for the first loop of the relay, and she paid a very, very dear price indeed, missing 4 targets in all, having to ski a penalty loop and losing all and more of that 51-second advantage that she held. Ukraine now situated comfortably in 3rd place. They've shaken off the challenge from the Japanese. Tereshchenko over a minute ahead of Takahashi now, and will start to think that a 2nd or 1st place is possible. They haven't won so far this year. But the Ukrainians have been the 3rd best team overall. 3 podium finishes in the World Cups, and of course finishing in 3rd position in the World Championship relay as well. .151 behind at the last count, and they've reduced that to 1:35, so Tereshchenko working immensely hard. But it's Martina Zellner who leads the way. Can she do what she did in Ruhpolding and Antolz and bring Germany home to victory? Or is it going to be a similar story to that of the World Championships? Should Germany win, they'll close the gap by at least 4 points, and I think it's going to be a 1-2 for Germany and Russia. We still don't know which way round it's going to be, but should Germany win, then they'll close the gap at the top of the World Cup by 4 points, and they'll move on to 162. Russia will move on and be just 4 points ahead if that's the case. But should Russia win, they'll extend the gap to from the current 8 points to around 12. And that may be too much of a gain for the Germans to make up in the final relay. So this is the moments that many coaches dread. And Mussigang of Germany will be spotting every shot of Martina Zellner's. And it's Zellner who draws the first blood with 2 out of 2. The wind has dropped, conditions good. Certainly favourable conditions for Germany. I'm not quite sure why she's had to go for a spare round. Russia still to strike, so 4 targets the difference between Russia and Germany. These have all got to go down. Oh, there's the first miss, and that could well cost Russia 1st place. Could cost them the World Cup title at the end of the season as well. Akhятова, 1 miss out of the 4, and Germany are already away. Martina Zellner looking so much the stronger on the 2nd loop. Oh, that's another 10 seconds gone. And there goes Zellner. Well, it's not been a bad performance by Russia, but Akhятова has had the worst of the shooting. 5 targets missed. All that work done by Galina Kuklova in the 3rd leg, clearing 10 with 10, skiing faster than anyone today. She put Russia ahead by 44 seconds, but it's been lost by Albina Akhятova. Now, I wonder why Kuklova didn't take the final leg. And she certainly won't be critical of Albina Akhятova, because Kuklova will know full well how difficult it is when you know that your shooting is going to determine the outcome. Ukraine in 3rd place, and no real chance of catching either Germany or Russia. Will be concentrating on staying ahead of the Japanese and getting their 5th podium finish of the season. That's how it's done, and I really can't stress how difficult that is. 5 out of 5 in competitive situations, very, very difficult. And I know they do it time and time again in training, but were Joe Bloggs to pick a rifle up and have a go in the prone position, he'd be lucky, he or she would be lucky to hit 3. In the standing, it would be 1 or 2 hits at the most, and it probably wouldn't be the targets they were aiming at. And that is no exaggeration at all. Still a good run by Japan. This is going to be their best finish of the season, 4th. Slightly reduced field, which does make it easier, but they've still held off the French, the Finns, and the Norwegians. Well, they have so far, unless Takahashi makes more of a bundle of it. It's a nervous smile as opposed to a happy one, I think, on the Japanese coach's face, as Takahashi settles 2 targets still to hit. If this one goes down, then they're going to stay in 4th place. Now, 1 penalty loop to ski, but I think they're far enough ahead. No one else really settling in the range yet, and what a shame. Takahashi, 6 targets missed. She's missed more than the other 3 put together. It was a great start. They got themselves up into 4th position, just 1 second behind the Ukrainians, but then it started to slip as they came in for the final prone shoot, the first shoot on that final leg. Bulgaria. Now, should Shrodriva rattle off 5 with 5, she may put herself in a position to challenge Japan, but I think that's a bit of a long shot. Shot of the day, fantastic stuff. Shrodriva will go out at 3:35. The Japanese still on the penalty loop, and they may find themselves down. 3:40. It's going to be very close indeed. Takahashi's day's work is not done yet, and she'll see Shrodriva coming out of the range, and she's going to have to find something a little special. The Japanese coach is on the radio already, and the remainder of the Japanese assistants will be fully informed and winding themselves up to give Takahashi as much support as possible. 3:40 the difference between Japan and the leaders, 4:06, so 26 seconds for the Bulgarians to make up. Still no sign of the Norwegians. I wonder whether they've retired, maybe even been retired. That'd be the first time that they've been lapped, if that were the case. No indication of that on the computer screen, but I haven't seen them for a while. Finns have got one more. Little battle going on between themselves, the French and the Czech Republic. And it's even Stevens with France and Finland, but that has all changed. Finland are going to go out and may well finish in 4th place as the French struggle with that final target, Delphine Heyman-Burlet, and down it goes. So that is going to turn into a bit of a ski fight. 2.5 kilometers to ski, and it's the same loop that they've been on twice already. They know it back to front, and they're learning to hate it here in Lahti because it is so tough. As we wait for Martina Zellner to come in, the leader of the women's 4x7.5. .700 meters to go from the 6.8 kilometer stage. How long is that going to take? 1:48.05 the time at the moment. Well, there are the Norwegians. They haven't been looped, so they haven't got that shame to contend with, but that shooting really is second rate. 14 targets missed in all. Let's hope that doesn't unnerve the Norwegian men's team. They had a winner in the individual yesterday with Harvold Hannevold, but the Germans were the stronger. 4 in the top 5, 5 in the top 7 for Germany yesterday in the men's 20 kilometre, and their 6th skier down in 12th place. So that just underlines the strength in depth that they have, and that they do seem to be skiing very, very well. And what was interesting is that they're normally weaker skiers, the likes of Carsten Heimann and Marco Morgenstern, right up in the top 4 of that World Cup. So what we're waiting to see is the announcement of the German squad for tomorrow. Will the coaches go with the 4 faithful, or will they take a risk and put the likes of Heimann and Morgenstern in there? It would certainly be a well-deserved entry into the race should the youngsters get there. And they're going to have to do it at some stage, bite the bullet and let these, not so young, they're well into their 20s, but compared to the likes of Rico Gross, Frank Lux, Sven Fischer, who are late 20s, early 30s. Tereshchenko of Ukraine, 2:10 behind. So Germany heading home for another relay victory. It's been not the best of seasons for them, but they've now finished in 1st or 2nd place in all but one of the 7 relays held, and this is their 3rd victory of the year. Well, just a small consolation for the fact that they only took the silver medal back from Oslo last weekend. I was going to say last weekend, it was 2 weekends ago. But always nice to finish the season well, and they have closed the gap on the Russians in the Relay World Cup. So congratulations all round to the German quartet. Uschi Diesel, who led the way initially and came home in 1st place. Katrine Apel, who held on to the lead. It all went horribly wrong for Andrea Henkel, who found herself over 45 seconds behind the Russians, but then Martina Zellner coming through, and although her performance was not the best we've seen, it was certainly just what the Germans needed. Their fortune really coming with the misfortune of Albina Akhятova, who's coming in now in 2nd place. Disastrous prone shoot from Akhятova, 1 penalty loop to ski, lost over 55 seconds in that first prone shoot, and then missed targets again in the standing. But still another 2nd place, and the Russians will hold on to their lead in the World Cup, although it's been cut from 8 to 4 points. So while we're waiting for the 3rd team to come in, and we're going to have to leave this event in Lahti fairly shortly, unfortunately, but we do know the leading 3. It's Ukraine who are going to come in 3rd position. I'll just give you quick roundup of the events to come in the next round of the World Cup, taking place in Russia. Khanty-Mansiysk, the venue for that. So here come Ukraine, and their final skier, Tereshchenko, Natalia, coming through, and 1:59. It's over 2 minutes the difference between them, but she did well to hold off the challenge from the Japanese, held her nerve on that first prone shoot, and opened up a comfortable gap over the Japanese, who were looking for their first ever podium finish. So that's the Ukrainians in, and the top 3 teams here. Germany taking their 4th win of the season. Russia in 2nd place on the podium yet